It's time for another blistering report from the front lines of the cultural war for a constitutional America. And now, here's your host, Charles Benninghoff.
A casual observer might think that John McCain is just a bitter, cranky old man who's a little bit off his rocker, especially if you saw his outburst on the Senate floor this week against Senator Rand Paul. Just wait until you see the video of the attack he launched against the Kentucky Republican. But I thought there might be more to this story. Why? Well, because both senators have been in office for years, they're colleagues. Paul disagreed on a minuscule issue, and McCain went ballistic, as you'll see momentarily. So I asked myself, why did that happen? Why was there so much ferocity in McCain? After years of harmonious relations, now McCain wants Paul indicted for treason. This brings to mind Alinsky Rule 5A. When you're in risk of losing the argument, call the other side names like racist or traitor. So there must be something deeper, we thought. So, what argument? What side? What deal? What profit center is McCain trying to protect? I asked myself. There had to be a reason, some reason. So, I thought that Bob Mallory, our editor, and I should research this country, the country of Montenegro, an area outside the Baltic states on the Mediterranean Ocean, right across Italy. And when Bob Mallory and I looked into it, wow, you won't believe what we found. In fact, wait until you see the connections and the real reason why I think John McCain threw all Senate decorum out the window and started yelling at Rand Paul. Of course, this is my opinion. It's based upon the facts that I've read, and subsequent investigations may prove this to be true or false, but here's the evidence we have right now. I think it's pretty strong. I think it's strong enough to take action and make those guys prove that they didn't do what we think they did. So, I'll give you a little preview before we get into the details. John McCain is, in my humble opinion, and reading from the facts, supports my opinion, a puppet of billionaire globalist George Soros, and McCain is willing to say and do anything to advance the globalist agenda of George Soros. For very solid reasons, which I'll lay out here, I'm again calling on Congress to impeach John McCain, remove him from office, and I hope you'll join with me in this effort. I'll tell you how you can help today, but first, let's get started with McCain's outburst on the Senate floor. The Senate was debating an international treaty to bring the tiny, minuscule nation of Montenegro into the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. Before you watch this clip that follows, keep in mind that Senate Rule 19-2 states, and I quote, "No senator in debate shall directly or indirectly, by any form of words, impute to any other senator or to other senators not present any conduct or motive unworthy or unbecoming a senator." So with that rule in mind, here's what John McCain had to say on the Senate floor. Take a look.
That is really remarkable, that a senator blocking a treaty that is supported by the overwhelming number, perhaps 98 at least, of his colleagues, would come to the floor and object and walk away. And walk away. The only conclusion you can draw when he walks away is he has no argument to be made. He has no justification for his objection to having a small nation be part of NATO that is under assault from the Russians. So I repeat again, the senator from Kentucky is now working for Vladimir Putin.
Wow. I haven't seen John McCain become that animated since he attacked conservative Christians during the 2000 presidential race when he referred to Christians as, and I quote, agents of intolerance. Yes, we don't like people who are traitors. McCain almost certainly violated Rule 19-2 by imputing motives unworthy of a senator, and that senator was, of course, Rand Paul. But then the question comes up again, why? Why did he do this? Why does John McCain become so animated and angry over a tiny little dot on a continent of Europe, Eastern Europe at that? Montenegro is so small, it has a standing army, including our equivalent of Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Special Forces of less than 2,000 in total. Their whole country only has 2,000 warriors. Probably half of those people are desk jobs. And the other half probably reservists. Well, membership in NATO is somehow worthy of calling your colleague a traitor when there's only 2,000 soldiers in the country and you want to have the full force and weight of the United States come defend it? That's insane. How could you possibly justify, if you were McCain, calling Rand Paul a traitor over Rand Paul's not wanting to have Montenegro come into NATO with such a small amount at risk for them, but huge billions upon billions of dollars and thousands of our fighting boys and girls' lives if something goes wrong in that little country? Well, there has to be more, methinks, and where do you find out? Don't you wish Republican senators were this passionate when it comes to America First issues, like securing our border from invasion from the South and repealing Obamacare? So, Bob and I decided to look into the reasons why John McCain is so passionate about a backwater little country that no one has ever heard of, well, almost no one, or cares about, and is 100% militarily insignificant. Montenegro is a tiny little country that sits across the Adriatic Sea from Italy. The nation is sandwiched between Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Albania, and Serbia. Montenegro has a total population of about 650,000, and there's not much else there, except one thing. I bet you got an idea what that might be. Yeah, well, it's oil and gas deposits under the Adriatic Sea within the territorial waters of Montenegro. Here are some interesting things to note about Montenegro from recent history. And I promise you, I really do, all these bits and pieces will come together and make sense in just a minute. So, in 2015, a man was arrested by German authorities as he was driving across the European Union. The trunk of his car was filled with AK-47 rifles, dynamite, and grenades. The driver's name has never been released, but authorities admit that he made several trips from Montenegro to Paris, France, where he delivered the weapons that were used by Syrian refugees to carry out the Paris nightclub attack that left 130 folks dead. Those weapons were delivered from Montenegro. Then, in 2016, the Obama administration decided that Osama bin Laden's personal driver was no longer a threat to the United States, so Obama released this guy named Abdel Wahab al-Rahabi from his prison cell in Guantanamo Bay and sent him home to his family. Was his family in Pakistan or Saudi Arabia? Maybe Jordan? No. He's from Montenegro. Another thing that Montenegro is known for is all the yachts in its harbors. Thousands of yachts. Lots of Russian oligarchs, Italian mafia, and rich tax dodgers and technocrats park their yachts in Montenegro. Here's a picture of one of those yachts. You like this picture? Nice place, huh? Let's see if we can identify the people on board. In the background, that looks like, yes, Anne Hathaway, the Hollywood actress. She's standing next to her former boyfriend, who you see there on the left. That's a man called Raffaello Folieri, a guy who went to prison recently for money laundering and wire fraud. Shaking hands with him is a man named Rick Davis, a man who runs a powerful lobbying firm in Washington, D.C., who also ran John McCain's 2008 presidential campaign. So on one little boat, you got this guy from the United States who runs campaigns. The campaigns suck up money like a sponge. And you got a facilitator, Raffaello Folieri, the guy who was a money launderer. Why would they be on the same boat? I ask you, why would they be on the same boat? And who is that gentleman walking up the gangplank wearing an Arizona Diamondbacks baseball cap? Well, if it isn't John McCain himself. Look at there. That's old Johnny boy. Imagine that. John McCain on a fancy yacht in Montenegro with a Hollywood starlet, good-looking one at that too, and an Italian con man while he's running for president of the United States. But that still doesn't give us the full picture of why John McCain is so passionate about Montenegro that he would accuse a fellow senator of working for Vladimir Putin. All that picture does is lays a foundation that there is a connection somehow between some money flowing back and forth, and now we find out why that money is important and who it's coming from, and McCain using the fact that McCain was there with his campaign director. Does that sound a little hanky-panky? It gets better. So here's the last piece of the puzzle. A major international bank in Montenegro is owned by two primary investors. Those are Nathan Rothschild of the Rothschild banking fame and George Soros. Who stands to benefit the most if Montenegro joins NATO? Who got paid to be attentive to these concerns? How did he get paid? What was the mechanism that the payment went through? How did it get from Montenegro to Washington, D.C.? Who facilitated that payment? Well, we've shown you some characters that might have been involved. I'm not saying they were because I don't know. But it sort of adds up and gets kind of fishy. So returning to this cast of characters, George Soros and Nathan Rothschild, and they're very, very important because the two of them can hide any assets there in Montenegro, make any investment from Montenegro, and conduct worldwide usury. And guess what? The United States will have to send thousands of soldiers, Marines, Navy vessels, F-35 fighters in to defend this tiny little country, and Rothschild and Soros, if all this is true, will make $1 trillion from the deal and allow to have chaos continue to run rampant across the world. And if you think John McCain and George Soros are not connected, in my humble opinion, think again. The evidence shows that there can be a connection, and we need to have Congress investigate this. So, here's a picture of both Soros and McCain meeting in Davos, Switzerland. And as Breitbart News reported in February, George Soros poured tens of thousands of dollars into the campaign coffers of John McCain with instructions to attack and undermine the Trump administration. So I don't think Rand Paul is working for Vladimir Putin. I'm positive he's not. He's an American hero. There's no evidence of that whatsoever except McCain's outburst. But there seems to be a lot of evidence that John McCain is working for a globalist beast and a puppet master named George Soros. And who knows, maybe the Rothschild family is in on this game too somehow, other than as mere investors. It's time for John McCain, in my humble opinion, to just go away. As I reported earlier in March, McCain has been identified as one of the leaks who was providing President Trump's classified phone calls to the media. In addition, McCain revealed military secrets to a prank caller that ended up on a YouTube video. This guy is incredible. Go back to my first McCain Impeach video and listen to this old tyrant spilling the beans about American military secrets to a Russian comedian who called him blind, and he was parading as the prime minister of Ukraine, another small country in that region. There is more than enough evidence now to demand that John McCain be impeached and removed from office if found guilty. Remember, impeachment is just an inquiry. It's a process to see if all these apparently unattached and dislocated facts add up to some sort of a wrongful connection and result into a wrongful conduct. But if we don't get started and we don't bring this to the attention of Congress, nothing will happen. So here's how you can help. You can go to our action page today and start sending personalized letters to the House Judiciary Committee demanding articles of impeachment against John McCain and for the reasons that we put together here. This man is a blight on the American Senate, in my humble opinion. And it is beyond the pale that he could stand on the Senate floor and attack Rand Paul, a true American hero, while he may be taking money from globalist George Soros, the man who owns the bank in Montenegro, literally owns the bank. And he wants to own all that oil offshore too. And he wants America's taxpayers to pay the bill for defending it. I think we should impeach John McCain. I really do. Get hot. Go to the page. Follow the instructions that Bob Mallory will give you in the next screen, and he'll take you to the action page so you can speak out today. This is Charles Benninghoff signing off and wishing you freedom, fulfillment, and God's many blessings.
If you're on our action page on our website, use the form next to the video screen to select a program and send personal letters to Congress. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, click the icon appearing now to find the link to our action page, or check the video's description to find the link. Speak out today.